All right. Woo! Don't you love those Canadians? We love them. All right. Well, our journey in freedom and liberty continues, and it gets better and better all the time because we're learning and we're winning, and that's wonderful. And today, we also have someone who's going to help us learn about disruptive technology. Juan Galt, and I love that name. Juan Galt is a journalist, Bitcoin and blockchain tech researcher, and he's a writer, as he says, for every Bitcoin news site out there. Autodidactic, which I think we all have to be today, and a student of, get this, philosophy, psychology, economics, and decentralized technologies. He also works with video production, working on a documentary, get this, about the anarchists that are coming to Acapulco and how they are affecting the world today. You can get in touch with him, YouTuber, at disrupttech.media. He'll give that even more. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming Juan Galt.
Hello, hello. Okay, so people sometimes ask me who is Juan Galt, and he just answered it, so I'm just gonna skip right ahead. I want to talk about currency competition. We're kind of entering an age that has never been possible before, where we can escape the jurisdiction of money of the country that you're living in and move your assets to a new jurisdiction. You can pick out of many different currencies to use to store your value, to buy whatever you want to buy, and this is the future that we're moving towards, right? Before, the Federal Reserve dictate like kings how your money is governed. Now, without even leaving the country, you can just sort of move your money to crypto and decide by which rules you want your finance to occur. And that's a very exciting thing. Part of the Dash is one of these cryptocurrencies, and they funded this speech, as well as a lot of the interviews that I'm doing out here. So I'm going to be telling you about why Dash is such a powerful and an exciting cryptocurrency. So before we get to that, though, I just want to make the point that money is super important for civilization. We cannot have the internet without money. We cannot have computers without money. We cannot have buildings like this without money, because it is just too complex an enterprise to achieve through something like barter or just getting so many complex interests involved, right? A sandwich lady cannot buy a computer chip from a Chinese manufacturer in China if she's here in the United States, because the sandwich will get there and it'll be green and rotted, right? There's no barter potential in international finance and global trade. So if we want a complex civilization, we need money. But once we recognize that, we need to decide, okay, so what kind of money do we want? Now that we have choices, what kind of money do we want to use? And that's where Bitcoin comes in. And there's, of course, gold and other things, but cryptocurrencies are particularly useful in how decentralized and liquid they are. It's very easy to hold them, it's very easy to move them, and they are arguably much more secure than gold in some ways, depending on how you look at it and who you're defending against. So this is a website called CoinMarketCap, and then we have the top 7 cryptocurrencies as of this morning. Dash is number 6, and you see a list. Ripple is centralized. It's not really a decentralized cryptocurrency, so I don't count it. But Dash is one of the top 5. And I want to talk about why Bitcoin is not great as a currency for retail and for everyday use for purchasing items, right? Bitcoin is excellent right now for international settlement of transactions, perhaps for moving a lot of money. It's great for, there's a lot of sort of big companies that are moving in and potentially using it for stock market settlements, but it's kind of terrible for retail. If you want to go buy a sandwich from that sandwich lady, right, you'll give her Bitcoin, and then she's got to has a problem right now, right, because she has to wait for a confirmation and give you the sandwich. If she gives you the sandwich and you leave, you could actually cheat her right now and double spend her if she just gives it to you on the spot. She has to wait like at least 10 minutes or up to an hour for that confirmation for that transaction to be secure. And Bitcoin has actually made it easier to do what is called a double spend transaction within 0 within less than one confirmation. So within 10 minutes, you can do it. And there seems to be no interest in Bitcoin to solve this problem. And so it seems like Bitcoin is not moving towards being a retail type of currency. Dash has very much developed that kind of technology. So Dash has something called instant transactions that has solved that problem. This is the lead developer of Dash, Evan Duffield. Just a little bit about Dash. It's used to be called Darkcoin. It came to fame because it had a particularly strong privacy system. So you couldn't go on Bitcoin. I mean, it's relatively easy for me to figure out how much Bitcoin one of you guys has if you give me your public address. If you put your public address on your website, it's relatively easy for me to figure out how much money you have. If you put it on your email, whatever, right? Because there's no default sort of protection. You have to kind of take action to figure out how much, to cover up how much Bitcoin you have. We actually have more privacy with banks today from sort of the average Joe than we have with Bitcoin. Yes, the elites can totally know how much money you have in your bank account if you're in the banking system, but with Bitcoin, it's pretty much open if you know how to look. Dash has also solved this problem to a much, much larger degree. So yes, Bitcoin sucks at retail right now. It literally, one of the core developers of Bitcoin got a piece of software called Replace by Fee into Bitcoin Core. And what this does, it means I can send a transaction to Sandwich Lady, I get the sandwich, I leave, and then I send that same transaction to another address with a higher transaction fee. And if I do it fast enough, my second transaction will get to the blockchain, and then she loses the sandwich and the money. And it's open source software. It's not that difficult to do, and it actually just got easier. This is a Dash and Drink. It's actually a pop machine that was signed by the Dash community. And you can just pay with Dash on this and get a pop, and it's instant and it's secure. It's actually, it doesn't have the same problem that Bitcoin has with zero confirmation transactions. I'm going to explain why in a few minutes. Let's touch on privacy a little bit more just to go back on that. This is a chart, just so you get an idea of privacy in Bitcoin today. This is a chart made by Elliptic. This is one of the major blockchain data analytics companies in the market right now. And they're selling information about transaction flow and the economics in Bitcoin to big banks and probably to merchants in the future. They released this last year, and as you can see, Silk Road 2.0 up top, Bitcoin Fog, which is a Bitcoin transaction anonymization company, a centralized company, faucets. You have major empty GOGs, other known exchanges, local Bitcoins, Agora. So once you have enough information about people, you can actually start to know who's moving money where and buying what. If you're not careful. And Bitcoin right now is pretty much open to this attack, though there is some movement to change this. So far, nothing has particularly been done about it, other than some good work by some wallet developers, but it's not enough. What Dash does against this, so the solution is that Dash has attacked this problem by creating something called DarkSend. And DarkSend basically grabs a transaction, and it grabs a bunch of people's transactions and puts it in a bag. This is a decentralized bag. And then mixes up the transactions and all the money in there, and then gives you back the money that you put in. And so now when you look at the blockchain with Dash, you don't really know what happened, right? It's intentionally designed to protect against data mining and blockchain analytics, which is very important for, yes, privacy, but also for fungibility. Money needs to be convertible and needs to be, cash cannot have a history trail. If it is realistic, I've talked to data mining CEOs that are looking at blockchain technology, and they have an explicit intent to data mine the Bitcoin blockchain and then sell this information to merchants so that they can be compliant in their countries, because if some Bitcoin transaction that they accept is associated with the Silk Road and 3 degrees of transactions or something, they might actually not accept that Bitcoin. And so the merchants, right, because they're at risk of money laundering. So privacy is going to be a very important topic for Bitcoin as we move forward, and Dash has solved this with the technology that I described already, which is one of the reasons why I think Dash is very interesting and very well positioned to be actual money rather than a settlement system like Bitcoin seems to be moving towards. So the next thing that I want to point out about Bitcoin and Dash is that it's node count and governance, right? We've all heard of the block size debate. And to a lot of people looking from the outside, it's very confusing. What the hell is going on with Bitcoin? What's happening? Well, it turns out that there's a kind of confusion that Bitcoin is going through. They're kind of going through puberty right now and sort of figuring out, how do I make decisions? How do we make decisions about what software goes on the major Bitcoin sort of, the Bitcoin core, right? The software that the miners are running, the software that merchants are running, the software that users are running. What gets updated to it, right? Right now, there's two answers. One of them is that miners get to decide. Some people really believe that miners get to decide what software Bitcoin runs. Other people believe that it's node count, right? So if the more full Bitcoin nodes that there are, the more that particular version of Bitcoin will be in power. And Bitcoin XT was one of the first ones that tried to compete in Bitcoin node versions, and they had actual software in there that said if they had 75% of the node count, it would activate and start applying its own software. And that's kind of risky in a decentralized system, because I don't think we've sort of gone through something like that quite yet. There could be a fork and stuff, so it's been avoided, but it could be done safely, but it's risky, right? So this is actually, I think, pretty bad security, and I'm not an engineer, but it seems pretty easy, because it costs to attack this, because if this is the way that governance works in Bitcoin, like the more nodes of a particular version, the better. It costs about $20 to run a Bitcoin node, a full Bitcoin node on Amazon servers right now, which means that we have about 5,000 nodes, full nodes in Bitcoin. For about $150,000 a month, I could get 7,500 nodes of my version of Bitcoin onto the network, right? If I do it slowly, if I put marketing on it, if I sort of sell my message, it would not be very expensive to overtake the governance model of Bitcoin if this is how we're going to go. But again, right now, it's not clear what the direction is, and I'm getting mixed answers from people. To compare this to Dash, Dash has right now about 4,000 nodes. And Dash does things a little bit more differently, right? Dash is immune to this attack because it says, okay, anybody can be a node, anybody can have a wallet, but if you want to be a service provider, if you want to have a real vote and say on how governance happens in Dash, you need to put up collateral on your node. So you need to put 1,000 Dash, you lock 1,000 Dash in a Dash wallet, which is about $4,000 right now. And you can have it cold storage, and it's totally safe, it's on your computer, but it's locked, and you can't use it while it's locked in there. And now you get to vote, and so you get to have a lot more say on how governance works, and you get to actually get paid to anonymize transactions. You get to get paid to help support the instant transaction network. And there's an actual incentive to host a node. Unlike in Bitcoin, Bitcoin nodes are basically charity. If you're a company and you're in Bitcoin, you have an incentive to have a Bitcoin blockchain, full blockchain, 30-something gigs on your computer. But most people, who here has a full blockchain, full Bitcoin node? Okay, that's like 5 people out of 300 anarchists. There's 50 here, so. So yeah, there's no real incentive. It's kind of charity. Dash actually pays nodes, master nodes, to be in the network. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about, let's talk more about this governance thing. So Bitcoin, what they do is every 10 minutes, there's a block reward that is paid to miners, and they're paid to secure the Bitcoin network. And that's all that Bitcoin does, really sort of support, like pay to sort of support this network. What Dash did that was particularly innovative is that they said, okay, we're going to give miners 45% of the block reward, and then we're going to give the master nodes another 45% of the block reward, so they have an incentive to host this sort of secure network. And then we're going to grab another 10%, and we're going to put it to something called the budget system. And this is actually how I was funded to come here today and speak to you about this. And to do a lot of the interviews that I've done at this conference, I literally was reached out to on Twitter by some of the Dash community members. And they were like, hey, listen, we love Anarchapulco. We love the community there. We like what you do. I think you should go and speak about Dash there. So we sort of talked about it, negotiated a sponsorship package with Jeff. And then once all the details were sort of set up, I went on my wallet. I went to this website called Dash Whale. And this is a sort of a website that makes it easy to understand what this budget system is. So basically, you can submit projects to the Dash network that you think will serve Dash, and if the master nodes agree, then they can vote for your project, and then I will get you will get some of the rewards from the block size and fund your project. So it has an internal sort of funding system, and this is what we did. I signed up to this website, I went through the steps, and then I sent a special transaction from my wallet saying, I want to be a speaker at Anarchapulco, pay me this much money, this is the funding, and then it was done. Within about an hour, I got 300 app votes, which is 10% of the Masternode networks. Yeah, about 10% of the master nodes. And then by the next day, I had 1,500 app votes. I climbed up the ladder of the budget system. Everybody was very supportive. And that's pretty much how I got funded. Turns out that you got to do it before the last 2 days of the payment cycle. So there was a bit of a problem there, but that was pretty much how it went down. So Dash, I think, is a very promising technology. And it is kind of, because of the system, it's kind of like a living organism, right? Bitcoin right now is funded by major companies, right? BitPay, Coinbase, Blockstream. They're funded by companies that have a particular intention and will. They want Bitcoin to be something, right? But Dash is internally funded. Dash is dependent on the value of its unit, right? The more valuable that Dash is, the more money that there is for this organism to keep developing and adapting and growing. And that is a very new thing in the world. I honestly believe this is a cybernetic organism. We humans, and we mortal humans in the Dash community are basically the gears that move it. But we can fall away, and this thing will continue. And so yeah, I think it's very interesting and very much worth looking into. I'm not saying that it's going to overtake Bitcoin. It might, right? It might just be better at being money than Bitcoin, right? And that's the great thing about currency competition now, is that we're going to be able to choose money that serves the specific purposes we care about. And there's a lot of interesting projects out there, so do your own research. And I think that is it, and we seem to be good for time. I have, if anybody's interested in being a Dash masternode, we have Masternode Vouchers. So I have these links on my website, and if you go to node40.com, you can learn more about it. And if you use the word Anarchapulco and send an email to info@node40.com, then you can actually be a masternode for free for a month and kind of play it out. I'm getting rates. Some people are telling me that they're making about 12% to 18% interest rate a year by being masternodes of Dash, and that's without counting the price fluctuation. Dash has gone up quite a bit in the past few months, and it's sort of stayed at around number 5, number 6 market cap for a while, around $4 a piece. So it's been pretty good. I wish I'd bought more when I was like a year or two ago.
And Juan, we got a little bit of time. I'm going to make an executive decision here. We got a little bit of time. I'm going to time master of ceremonies. If you have 5 minutes and want to give some questions, we can do that.
Yeah, I would love to take some questions if anybody.
Any questions that someone would like to ask? Come on up here. Is this working, by the way? There we go. Now it is. There we go. Come on over here. And what is your question?
My question is about the ease of spending and whether or not you run into challenges finding people who will accept it.
Right. Well, if you're in the Bitcoin community, it's going to be much easier to find people. But you're right, that's one of the problems with Dash right now, is that it's a young currency. It's 2 years old compared to Bitcoin. Bitcoin's about 7 years old. So there's not enough merchants. There's not a lot of places where you can spend it other than maybe some online places and some businesses, right? So that's one limitation. But if you're looking at 5, 10 years, that could very much change. And I sure as hope we'll try.
And another
try
question?
To change that.
Yeah, also to add to that question, whoever just asked that, there's a site, shapeshift.io, which will let you spend any cryptocurrency and convert it to Bitcoin instantly, or vice versa. But my question is, so does Dash have a proof of work, or is it just like a voting consensus every so often? How does that part work?
Yeah, so Dash has similar to Bitcoin, has a mining security model. So there's Dash mining going on. They use a different algorithm, which has made it's supposed to be ASIC resistant, which means that it's been much harder for specialized mining equipment to be developed for it. So as to keep it more decentralized. ASICs just came out for it, so it seems like the big miners are going to get in, which is, it has its ups and downs because it's going to bring more security to it. So it's primarily a mining, mining, and then on top the masternodes. Yeah. All right.
That'll do it for the question. Any final concluding words?
No, thank you very much. I'll be over here if anybody wants to talk to me. We have cards, pamphlets.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Juan Galt.